Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Rana McBerto. Will is your host. Thank you so kindly for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Great interviews again. Man, we got 40 interviews out or so out of Netroots Nation. So we have interview after interview, but all substantive, all very substantive interviews that we kind of piecemeal them on you as the time goes on. I hope you're enjoying it. From the emails that I'm getting it, you sure seem to be enjoying these great interviews. Anyhow, Yvette Avery Herod, how are you doing? Welcome to the PDR Posse, my dear beautiful lady. Bridge MCP, our PDR Posse leader, Michael Rudnin is in the house, and he says, Egberto, I filled you up again. You know, I couldn't decide which one to go with. Senor Paul Fleming has some good info for us as well. Welcome, Paul Fleming. Jeffrey Barkdale. Jeffrey Barkdale, how you doing, my brother? Paul Fleming, Bridge MCP. Let's see who else is in the house. Alistair Waters said she's driving. Keep your eyes on the road, my beautiful lady. We want to make sure you get wherever you're going safely. And, of course, we got AVQ. El Senor Michael Rudnin and Deb Denny is in the house. How you doing, Deb Denny? Melanie Keelan has just stepped in from España, Barcelona, España. Barcelona, Spain is how it says here. Welcome to the show. Great to have all our wonderful people here. Please make sure the first thing you do, if you are on Facebook, please give us a like. If you are on YouTube, please remember, give us that thumbs up. We need you. My daughter is typing. There you go, girlfriend. Tell your daughter we say hi. Welcome to the show, Alistair Eve's daughter. How are you doing, Alistair Eve's daughter? You know, your mother is a wonderful lady. So remember that. Be nice to her. That's what we all try. We try to be good parents. We all try to be. Starting, The Guardian. Do not drink the water. Jackson water facility fails after flooding in Mississippi. Mississippi capital Jackson will go without reliable water indefinitely, officials say, after pumps at the main station treatment plant failed on Monday, leading to the emergency distribution of bottled water in tanker trucks for 180,000 people. The city linked the failure to the complications from flooding of the Pearl River, but Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves, who declared a state of emergency, said the cause was unknown and that city-run water treatment plant had been poorly operated and understaffed for years. Jackson is more than 80% black or African American, according to U.S. Census. The city and state were both distributing bottled water and non-portable water for toilets, which is the governor called a massively complicated logistical task. That governor that they have is one of the most evil governors with a smile you would ever see. You listen to his words and you look at his face, you'll never think such an evil could emanate from a youthful looking guy that talks as if he cares, but cares not a damn thing about women, cares not a damn thing about most of his population. And that I've stated after writing several articles about that Governor Tate. The Guardian again, major sea level rise caused by melting Greenland ice cap. I spoke about that yesterday, is now inevitable. The loss will contribute to a minimum of 27 centimeters, 10.6 inches, regardless of what climate action is taken. Scientists discover the research shows the global heating to date will cause an absolute minimum sea level rise of 10.6 inches from Greenland alone, as 110 tons of ice melts. That is trillions, right? But I'm not going to read the whole one of that one. But let me just say, I want to articulate on this. But let me just read what he says. Our brother says, our future does not look bright. Climate models have routinely underestimated sea level rise. This keeps up. Multimeter sea level rise expected due to the direct impact of accelerating global warming between sea level rise and a swath of Earth becoming too hot to live in. Over 1 billion climate refugees will occur. And you have to remember, as you get as the sea level rises, right, the surface area of water increases, right? Because, again, it's a globe. And as the water level increases, the diameter of the globe increases, right, of surface of water. And when that increases, I should say the radius, when that increases, right, because you're at a higher radius now, meaning in a sphere, it's a larger area, you get more evaporation, more moisture in the air, and what does that cause? Bigger floods, bigger hurricanes, bigger all these different things. But there is, yet something else as well with all our, flooding and the increase in Greenland. Remember an important factor. If ice is already in the water and floating, then there's no rise in the ocean from that melting ice. However, well, substantially that is because the temperature after 4 degrees, water expands. But if water is melting from land, that is a direct increase in sea level. And that's what's happening in Greenland as opposed to other places where floating ice is melting. Big difference. All right. Third item from Rudnin. Come on. California approves landmark bill to give fast food workers more power. The bill will create a new 10-member fast food council with equal numbers of workers, delegates, and employers. That is similar to Germany, along with 2 state officials empowered to set minimum standards for wages, hours, and working conditions in California. A late amendment would cap any minimum wage increase for fast food workers at chains with more than 100 restaurants at $22 an hour next year, compared with the statewide minimum of $15.5 an hour, which cost of living increases thereafter. A survey of fast food workers, Los Angeles, published by UCLA Labor Center, January 4th. I love this. I love this. Finally, workers getting somehow closer to a living wage, even though in California, some parts, you still can't live on that. Just about everybody in the house has to be working. Are we, as a nation, going to uphold FDR's vision of uplifting people out of poverty through decent wages where we approach a minimum wage as a living wage? I think so, Ratnan. I think we are going to get that if we get progressives elected. If we continue to elect conservatives, which means conserve whatever the wealthy has, no. But I think we're moving from that. That's why, I finally heard a congressperson said, not only are we going to win the House, but we are going to increase our numbers in the House. They're coming in line with my beliefs. I honestly believe we get at least 53 senators, and we get at least at a +3 in the House. When I say a +3, I mean +3 from where we are right now. A lot of people don't believe it. They say, oh, well, Biden is at 44, Obama was at 44, and at those same times, Obama was decimated in 2010. That could happen to Biden? Not a chance. Obama, when he was at 44, he was on the way down. Biden at 44 is on the way up. Very big difference. Very big difference. And he's doing a speech right now. And he's doing stuff that Democrats have not done. Obama didn't do it. He's letting the Republicans have it for the evil that the Republican leaders have it for the evil that has emanated out of their policies, out of their mouth. And he's letting America know that they have supported nothing that helped America. They voted no for all these other issues. All right, I got to get to my video, so I'm going to let that one slide. The good thing, Brother Rudnan put all that stuff in the links to that stuff. So please, guys, look at what our brother has researched. Afghanistan was prominent on the news today, so I'm not going to read that one out. Okay. Alistair says her daughter is typing, so we don't have to worry about accidents. Daniel Lado says the water pumps are racist. Okay. Boy, you really have a problem, my dear brother, but that's okay. Let's see what else we got. Nanette Bird Smith is in the house. Welcome aboard. Daniel Lado says, I wonder how a humanist like Egberto believes in evil. If he believes in evil, it isn't a humanist. I suspect he uses the word to manipulate, not because he actually believes it exists. I suggest you look for the definition of humanist, because humanism, first of all, does not preclude the spirituality, or does not preclude being somewhat faithful to any particular religion. I suggest you look up the word humanist. All right. Oh, I'm not going to repeat what Alistair Water just said, but we have Alistair Eve says, Egberto, my mom needs the link for the t-shirt from Netroots. I need to find that, Alistair Waters' daughter. I couldn't find, I did look for it though, but Alistair, I got to find it. I'm going to see if I can find it for you. But Bridge MCP promised she was going to look for that link on the back of the shirt. I don't have a shirt. I gave it all away. Okay, let's see. Eve. Really, Egberto is always telling us he's not religious, but is a humanist. Is he lying? No, I am a humanist. I'm not religious at all. You don't have to be religious to believe in evil. Thank you very much, Alistair. Anyhow, let's go with our first interview. This woman impressed me. Esther, her name is Esther Charles. We put the lapel mic on her and somehow it fell off, so sometimes the overpowering noise in the room may get a little bit, so listen to her attentively. But I love her spirit. I love what she did. Check this out, and then we will take it on the other side. Let's see. Esther Charlestin. Welcome to Politics Done Right, live from where again? Netroots Nation 2022, and I'm here. Actually, I'm honored to be here with Esther Charlestin because Esther has done something that actually quite impressed me. Esther, tell us a little about yourself, and welcome to Politics Done Right.
Oh, it's an honor to be here. So yes, I moved to Vermont 3 years ago and ran for political office, and I was top vote getter. So I am a Middlebury Select Board member. And what that means is my town, we don't have a mayor.
Right.
We have 7 people who are elected and make decisions for the town.
Right.
I am one of the 7.
And I tell you what, and I'm very frank with my audience.
Yeah.
And all of the time they know me. I have a very diverse audience, and we talk about Vermont and we talk about America and all of that. And I was just so impressed to see that in such a very white state that is not at all diverse, that someone like yourself can go into that state and because of who you are win an election. I think that is something that needs to be taught. And one of the reasons I wanted you on as soon as you told me that story, I am serious. It is we have to teach everyone how to adapt to an environment where they can actually be their better selves and perform.
Yes.
Talk to me.
So I just always had the intention to make someplace home and to be an active member of my community.
Right.
I have 2 children, and I was like, wherever I call home, I will make sure that I'm a part of it. And
right.
So I sought out opportunities to be a part. So I did that by joining a church, by meeting different people. And then it was a friend of mine that told me, hey, we have the select board. I said, select what? I don't know what you're talking about. And she said, why don't you consider running? And I said, absolutely. And I wasn't afraid to lose.
Right.
I wasn't afraid to have the answer be no. And I put my heart and soul into it, and the answer was a resounding yes.
And I understand that you were the top vote getter.
Yes, this past March, I was the top vote getter.
Now, how did you feel after doing that in a Vermont? Honestly,
I was so proud. I was proud because I thought about how hard my parents worked. They are Haitian immigrants, came here looking for a better life. And I thought about my ancestors, my family values, and how I can make a difference.
Right.
We can make a difference if we want to.
I think it's important. We have to understand the problems that we know our hue creates. But at the same time, we should never make our hue be an impediment to moving forward. That's what I saw when you came and said, hey, this is what I did. And it was like, wow. So, first of all, thank you for that. Now, tell me a little bit about what would you tell others that they should do, to get out, not to forget how things are, but how to make how things will be.
Yes. One, I think it's important to do the work in yourself. This is hard. Putting yourself out there is hard. Being secure in who you are, what you're about is so important. And knowing that there's hope. Believing that there's hope even if it doesn't seem like it. Because if I were to tell a friend of mine, I'm moving to Vermont and I'm going to run for political office in 3 years, they would look at me and say I'm crazy.
I'm a political guy. I would look at you and tell you you're crazy.
But I said, you know what? I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm going to honestly talk to people about my experiences, listen to their experiences, and be there. Meet people where they are. And because I did that, I met people work, and they heard me, and they said, you know what, I want you to speak on our behalf. And I said yes.
You know, I was just kidding because I live in a very, very red Texas, in a very red area of Houston. So no, I believe exactly what you just said. I was playing when I said I would have said you're crazy. What I would have told you is go get them.
Yes,
okay, that's what I would. I really and seeing you go get them, and I don't mean go get them in a negative form. I mean go get them in a positive form, in that I'm going to go do what I need to do for my community.
Yes.
And people, and generally speaking, I think people see that. And I think because they saw that is the reason why you were elected. I honestly think the reason they see that is the reason you were elected. So give me a closing statement.
Yeah. I'm going to run and be a governor of Vermont, so don't forget that.
Well, I said a closing statement because there's one other question after that.
Okay.
And it goes like this. What would you have liked me to ask you that I didn't? It's always one that knocks people. So, I mean, don't feel too badly that you had to pause for a while.
No, not at all. I think my why.
Mm-hmm. What's your why?
My children.
Great.
Knowing that I can be a part of something bigger and set up generations that come after me.
Esther Charlestin, thank you so kindly for a wonderful interview. And keep up the good work, Governor Charlestin.
Yeah!
I really enjoyed speaking to the next governor or the future governor of Vermont, Esther Charlestin. Let me just say, first of all, it was my fault. The mic I didn't notice that the mic fell off of her. What I did is I brought up her volume. I went and did some audio processing, Wade, to bring up her volume. It wasn't an equalizer issue. It was actually a mic missing issue, that a mic that was there that simply seemed to have fallen off her lapel. Let me just say, I actually processed it and took out all the background sound and had her voice and my voice only, but it sounded terrible because extracting all the other voices made her voice sound like tin, and it was just terrible. It sounded better with the noise in the background. So anyhow, let's see what else I got to do here. Daniel is still complaining about me using the word evil. Evil simply meaning the person is doing bad things and hurting people. Not any mystic thing coming out of a religious meaning of the word evil. Evil just means he's doing bad things. He's an evil person because he does bad things that hurt people. And Paul Fleming had an interesting piece inside of my instant messaging. He pointed out, breaking, Google has removed Truth Social from the Google Play Store due to their lack of moderation of violent content, including users openly planning to overthrow the U.S. government. It's about time. We have to be tough on those terrorists. We cannot allow the American Taliban, the American terrorists, to take over our wonderful country in which at least 70% of people want to live a nice, democratic life. We can't allow those criminals to do that. So one by one, we have to take out those things that are going to make life difficult for most of us. Thank you very much for pointing that out, Brother Fleming. All right, we got, what else we got here? We have... Bridge MCP says, come on, guys, give those thumbs up. Bridge says she's cool. Whoa, Egberto Willis, you're good, smart man. Oh, well, thank you. Love you, girl. That's homophobic, gay. Oh, no, she's not. Mike Cisak says, so Egberto doesn't believe in the First Amendment. You bet I believe in the First Amendment. But even the First Amendment has limits. You can't go into a darn theater and call fire, get a lot of people hurt. It's that the First Amendment does not protect you from that in the least. Anyhow, great interview now with Vic Uzumeri, who knows both healthcare systems. And even though he's a very diplomatic guy, we got him to tell the truth. Check this out. We'll then take it on the other side. Welcome to our first edition of Politics Done Right outside of Netroots, or rather in the Netroots Nation Conference here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And as our first guest today, we have Vic
Uzumeri.
Vic Uzumeri. I noticed I paused because I wanted to make sure to get Uzumeri correctly. Vic, welcome to Politics Done Right.
Thank you.
Hey, Vic, we're here trying to unite folks here on in the progressive domain and learn about different policies, etc. And one of the things that I've been very interested in is healthcare. Mm-hmm. Now, you are, I call you an expert because you've lived in both systems. You've lived in the American healthcare system and you've lived the Canadian healthcare system. First of all, just an absolute term, which is the better system?
Like every business system, and
right.
I'd characterize these as business systems. I mean, we tend to put magic in there. It's magical healthcare, medicine, Ouija board, and all kinds of stuff. They really are trying to systematically deliver healthcare services to the population. So, in U.S. has one system. Mm-hmm. Canada has another system. There are probably 30 other systems.
NHS in Great Britain.
Well, the OECD countries, there's 32 countries and 32 different flavors of the system.
Right.
So it's a system. So my background is I taught business operations management, supply chain for a long time, decades. And business systems you never take a business system against another business system and say one is better. You can't. Parts of one are much better than another, and it'll flip the other way. Now, some cases, a lot more parts may be good in one system than are good in another, in which case you form a strong appreciation for the system you think has more good parts.
No, I want to.
And Canada is the one I would say has more, on balance, has more good, well thought out pieces of the puzzle than the United States.
You're a very diplomatic person, is what I will say, because I look both of us are engineers, but as a more, I guess, absolute engineer, I would look and I look at outcomes, and if you look at the outcomes from one system over the other in the aggregate, just about every single system in the OECD comes out
outperforms the United States. Yes,
and I think in my opinion, that's the answer that we look for.
I agree. I mean, if you ask me which would I personally prefer to live with, the answer would be the Canadian system.
Now, you told me a story that kind of boggled my mind. And first of all, we're going to sort of touch on your wife's story, just as it relates to healthcare. But you mentioned something that, to me, when I heard it, I just didn't think about it. You said when you go to a doctor or you seek healthcare in Canada, money never comes up as a topic.
That's correct. The closest, let's see if I can fish it out. The closest it comes is this card. I mean, this might as well, for all intents and purposes, might as well be a Visa or MasterCard.
Right.
I mean, it does exactly the same thing.
So whenever you need help,
you go into a bar, you talk to the bartender, you get your drink, you have your meal, you chat with your friends, you chat with the bartender, they give you service, do all that stuff. The only money you talk to a bartender is when they bring you the bill and you hand them your Visa card.
Right.
Okay, think that experience, and that's the Canadian experience.
So they give you health care and you provide that as the...
You up front, you walk in, and they need to know who you are. That's your ID card.
That's your ID.
So, and at least where I am, downtown Toronto, all of my records are electronic.
Right.
So when my family practitioner sends me for a test, I go to get the test. I show my card. Well, that card allows them to look up my medical records before the test.
Right.
I mean, all that stuff is organized. It's all tied around, and the key is that it's a single point of truth about who I am and where the money's coming from.
Exactly.
And there's a big concept in business about when you build business systems is establishing a single point of truth. That is one place you can always go reliably to and get the facts. and everybody can do it, so everybody can be on the same page.
Unlike our system where one particular doctor, any patient comes in, he has to have a staff to tell him exactly what insurance company are you with and call them up, see what's covered. That's
right.
That
to me is the fundamental flaw and inefficiency in the U.S. system. U.S. system spends 25 to 35% of its healthcare dollar
on administration,
not administration, trying to figure out who to stick the bill to.
Right.
I mean, it's not about paying the bill. It's not about delivering a service. There's nothing in there other than everybody scurrying around like rats,
right,
in a maze, trying to figure out who's going to be the unlucky soul that gets stuck with the bill. That's the whole. That's almost quarter to a third of the total healthcare expenditure in the United States. Canada does not have that at all.
Right.
All right. So right there is any medical service you want to provide in Canada. You know, there's minor stuff around the edges, but in theory, it's going to be 25 to 30% cheaper.
Right.
Just because that cost is not part of the equation at all.
That is him. So tell us a little bit about your recent experience that probably would have bankrupted somebody here in the United States, and you had it in Canada.
Well, we just moved. My wife and I just moved from Atlanta. I mean, my background is I spent 20 years teaching at Auburn University. Mm-hmm. Then I took early retirement and lived for the past decade in Atlanta, downtown Atlanta. And then last August, we sold our condo and moved to Toronto. And both my wife and I are Canadian citizens, natives. We were born there. Mm-hmm. So we were able to move back.
Were you American citizens too, or
yes,
resident?
Yeah. We're dual because we over 35 years in the United States, I'd become naturalized.
Right.
But you don't throw away, don't change where you're born. So I'm still a Canadian citizen. Right. So I was able to move back pretty seamlessly. And to get health care, to get that little card, the only really bureaucratic thing I had to do is we had to have a permanent place to live because it's based on where you're resident.
Residence, right.
Yeah,
each province have
each one has it, and plus all the paperwork has to go somewhere. They have to have a place to mail you and so on. So it wasn't even when we moved into an apartment. It's when I had the signed lease from the apartment.
Right.
I was able to go down to Service Ontario, the government office with one-stop shopping, show them the signed lease, and they handed me, the equivalent of a temporary driver's license. They handed me a sheet of paper, which was my temporary health card, had the code that mattered.
Right.
Card didn't matter, the code did. And 2 weeks later, the plastic card showed up in my mailbox. That's it.
And now you are a covered citizen.
I was covered from the moment I got that piece of paper with my code number on it.
Right.
The temp.
And then you can go get health care.
I can walk into any. They have a system there. Basically, it's all run through. Now, in the U.S., my wife and I were first in downtown Atlanta. We were in the Emory healthcare system. I had U.S. pensions and have very good, Medicare Part A, B, C, D, and supplemental from the last one was Humana. I mean, we were well covered in the States, and I was in the Emory system and then in the Piedmont system in downtown Atlanta. And within those systems, we could sort of get anything we wanted. With that card, with the Ontario card, I can walk. I go to my family practice. They assign you have to have a family practice. You have to have a quarterback. So the first thing you do when you get the card, or even when you get the code number, is phone a
exchange,
and they take your information and say, okay, and then they go look for a family practitioner, and they say very clearly up front, if you don't like them, just call back and we'll get you another. Right. I mean, it's not like we're sticking them, but here's one we think, the one we have right now is a 5-minute walk. Right. They had that criteria, and so my wife and I each have our own family practice, and everything goes through them. Right. And they can, anything I need in the way of services or diagnostics or testing or anything like that, if it makes medical sense, then he just writes a referral and boom, it's done.
Right.
When I go to get the test, I just show my card.
Right.
They knock it off. There's never a conversation about money.
Right.
There's never a conversation about bureaucracy.
Right.
The only bureaucracy I've encountered in the Canadian system is bureaucracy if it had a specific medical meaning and requirement. It was
exactly. I get exactly what you're talking about. There's a reason for that bureaucracy.
Yeah, when you're talking about when will I get another appointment, the other appointment is, well, when will it make medical sense for you to come back? No point coming back in 2 days. Nothing will have changed.
Right.
So to go from the Emory and the Piedmont system, which are very sophisticated systems.
Right.
I mean, those are probably right at the top of U.S. medicine.
Right.
Business practices.
Right.
To Canada, and it's just so clean and simple.
Right.
And because it's all through the same system, my records are available to everybody I go to. I don't have to make.
You don't have to fill out a whole
they
list.
already
of things.
have them.
Efficiency.
If they've got my code, they've got the access, and they already have.
I tell you something that they use in the United States to dissuade people from doing things like that. Right? They like to use this thing called privacy, not realizing that's in having your records centralized like that is.
Well, you got a trade-off. You got a trade-off.
Right.
You can hide your medical condition from your doctors.
Right.
And you can be confident that they will not know what you've had and where you've had it and what's happened. And then they can make a mistake and kill you.
And that's what people don't understand. But the other thing that they talk about with privacy is that, well, if everybody has your records, they can actually see it. And to my thing is, the only reason to hide your medical records in the United States system is to sort of con the system so that they don't know, some entity doesn't find out that you had something before.
Yeah, if you're running running a really good Social Security scam, then that kind of privacy makes a hell of a lot of sense. I'd be all for it.
Exactly.
I mean, every Social Security scammer. I mean, but that's. When I say business systems, you got the same business system issues in every other business system.
Exactly.
Did the supplier really put stuff in the container before they shipped it, or did it drop
in the ocean? Anyway, Vic, I want to, before we close here, I want to go over that story about your wife.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and talk about something happened recently. Just tell us that sequence.
Yeah, this is after we arrived in Canada, and my wife. My wife went to her family practice, and said she was told she really needed to have. It was time to have some diagnosis. There were some signs and stuff like that. Family practice doctor pushed her to go get the diagnostics, and set everything up. It was all done. I mean, boom, 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 boom. She went, got the diagnostics. They found an issue. It was going to require some fairly serious surgery. The next step is the lab that found the surgery. The doctor at the lab that found the surgery had already went straight ahead and made a referral. And where we are, we're very fortunate. There are 5 major research teaching hospitals within a 5-minute drive.
Wow!
So I mean, they just went around all these great hospitals and said, okay, who's got an opening? Oh, okay, over there. My wife went there. Turns out the doctor is probably top 20, top 50 in North America.
Wow.
Young guy, I mean, 40s, sharp as a tack, really nice. And his performance was absolutely professional. I mean, as good as you. Emory and Piedmont would die and go to heaven if they could deliver that service. Right.
And you got some of the best insurance here in the United States, and it turns out that this that's going to cost you nothing.
Well, as I said,
other than your taxes.
Piedmont or Emory, on their best day would have equaled what we got.
Imagine that.
She went into hospital. She had surgery. Actually, before that, he wanted to be certain of the diagnosis. So she had full blood workup, ultrasound, MRI, CAT scan, whole everything. Boom. It took him about 2 weeks to get it all scheduled. He looked at everything, took it to a team in one of the hospitals where they actually review these cases as a group. And, so they get input from multiple eyes on the problem. Came up with a plan, involved surgery, booked her into a hospital. She went in, she had the surgery, she stayed 3 days, went home. She got 10 visits from a home support nurse, RN.
Just a follow-up.
Make sure that follow up after the surgery was going well, there was no infection, yada, yada, yada. And she has regular appointments with a follow-up nurse at the hospital every couple of months now, scheduled out for life. As long as she wants them, as long as she needs them, she can have them. She can just go there. Total cost?
0.
Out of pocket. No, sorry. It's not total cost, a lot more. Out of pocket to us? 0.
But the truth, and then one of the things that I asked you, and we're coming close to the time that we have to close, but one of the things that I asked you was, hey, Vic, but aren't your taxes a hell of a lot more than in the United States? And your answer was a bit surprising.
Well, it's hard to tell, but it's not hugely different. I mean, because first of all, the moment we came to Canada, I was able to drop the Medicare Part B and the Humana Extended Health that I was doing through my pension plan. So right there is about $500 US a month.
A month that you don't pay at all.
That I don't pay at all. Gone. Now, are my taxes higher than that? Because of my situation, it's actually a little hard. I had some business losses in a previous year. They carry in the States, they don't apply in Canada. So I'll probably know next year. My sense is I'll pay a little more in Canada.
Right.
But
for what it's worth.
But not remotely. It won't be egregious in any way.
Right.
And the net effect is, but the peace of mind. The
peace of mind. And you know that you can get the service when you want the service. So the fallacy that you have to wait. I tell people here in the United States, try to make an appointment with a specialist. Here in the U.S., sometimes you're months away from being able to see a specialist. You'll be months away from seeing a specialist if it's an elective situation in Canada. I mean, specialists for elective surgery are scarce everywhere in the world. Right.
So you're going to get that, and your mileage may vary. I mean, my mother had a hip replacement, and they made her wait 6 months. 4 or 5 of those months she was doing rehab.
Right.
Now, either that rehab was to
see if she really needed it after all.
Yeah, I mean, was either to sort of a sneaky way of rationing the care,
right,
or it was just damn good medicine.
Exactly.
And I don't know which one it is. Right, I'm not going to say.
Right.
Overall, my sense is financially on the medical side, we're going to be close to a wash or somewhere reasonable. And it allows the system that's been built, which has its weaknesses. I mean, there's some areas that Canadians bitch about their healthcare system.
Right. Everybody.
Well, the only thing is when they do survey, if you do a survey of Canadians and say, are you satisfied with healthcare? They'll say no. If you ask them another question, would you trade your healthcare for the U.S.? The answer is hell no. No.
And I think that is where we ended. Vic, thank you so kindly for being part of Politics Done Right.
Enjoyed it.
Absolutely. So anyhow, I got to do my quick ask, folk.
Politics Done Right depends on you to keep doing what we do. What do? We make sure to keep, number one, the internet seeded with blogs and information to counter the right and to present what progressives represent for the benefit of us all to everybody so that it's not misread, misled by any other entity. We make sure and populate that internet with blogs, with videos, with all these other things to make sure that we are informed and to counter everything that you normally hear that are lying at the right. We also make sure to create articles in magazines, articles in newspapers all around the country to ensure, again, that our message gets out there. Last but not least, we also write books. As you see it, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, How to Make America Utopia, are two of the many books that I've written on these issues. So please support us in one of many ways. Numero uno, you can support us at PayPal, either one time or monthly. Go to politicsdoneright.com/PayPal. You can support us on Patreon. That is politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. Patreon is spelled Patreon. You can support us by becoming a part of our YouTube channel, going to politicsdoneright.com/YouTube, or you can support us in many other forms that you can find at politicsdoneright.com/support. Be sure to visit our store, politicsdoneright.com/store, and get our books at politicsdoneright.com/books.
And folks, please don't forget to continue to support. Please continue to support our YouTube, or rather our GoFundMe for the trip that we took to where we're getting all this multitude of great interviews at politicsdoneright.com/netroots. Again, that is politicsdoneright.com/netroots. Bridge MCP wants me to put something on the screen. I'm using a different method for the screen, so I think I can do it without the flickering. There you go, Bridge. The evolution of medicine. It went from that sign all the way to dollar signs. I love that meme. And by the way, let's give brother Ledo an education, because he continues to just believe that evil has some mystical value only. Here's the definition. Adjective when used as an adjective: immoral and wicked. Other definitions: profound immorality or wickedness. If you want to make it more less whatever, you can also say something which is harmful or undesirable. All of that is the definitions of evil from Webster. So therefore, I don't know what got into Brother Ledo, who somehow believes that somebody using the word evil has to mean they're religious or otherwise. It's not the case, Mr. Ledo. Later on, I'm going to take up this article, which was brought to us from Alistair Waters, which is Reform Austin, was most Texans pay more in taxes than Californians. Actually, I may have to leave this for tomorrow, because I got to play the other interview, and then we'll take it on the other side. So let's go ahead and play the other interview, and we'll take it on the other side.
We're here at Netroots Nation 2022, Pittsburgh, PA. Politics Done Right. Once again, coming live. Today, I'm honored to be with Adam Green. Adam Green is one of the co-founders of Bold Progressive. How are you doing today, my friend?
Doing okay.
Well, look, before we even get started, what I'd like to do is learn a little bit about the person. Tell me a little bit, who is Adam Green?
Who is that? That's such a complicated question.
I know, that's the reason I asked.
Well, first of all, Adam Green is hilarious. Just kidding.
Yeah.
No, Adam Green, that's interesting. Politically speaking,
right.
Adam Green had his foundational moment in South Dakota many years ago on a campaign where I was just this novice political person who happened to stumble in this situation where little guy family farmers were attacked by big corporations. And part of my job during the campaign was to talk to them and help them express themselves at these press conferences. And what I learned that year was that these very pro-life, pro-gun, evangelical, lifelong Republicans were willing to cross party lines and vote for a Democrat if economic populism was at the center of everything. If we fought for the everyday little guy. And that really is the ethos that I think I live my life by, including my political life. Like, let's fight for the little guy and help everyday people stand up to big corporate power.
Now, you said it was a political campaign. Would that have been Dean's campaign, or whose campaign was it then?
Well, it was actually a couple years, I think, before that. It was 2002.
Okay,
There's a guy named Kim Johnson, who is running in a 20-point red state the year after 9/11, where Democrats got decimated. And we ended up winning that year by 524 votes because we fought for everyday family farmers who were at threat of having their farms taken over by big ag monopolies. And I think that's the recipe for political success for
And you know
Democrats right
something,
now.
and I think that's what bold progressive tries to do. You try to. I hate to use sometimes. Sometimes when you say educate, it seems a bit condescending. So you try to enlighten folks to how best to address their particular population. Correct?
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think part of what you're the solution to is a very broken conventional wisdom in Washington. And it amazed me during the healthcare fight in 2010.
Right.
As we were advocating for the public option, which was by far the most popular provision of the initial bill, right? Even New York Times polling showed that 50% of Republican voters wanted it, let alone like 70% of independents and 80% of Democrats. Basically a nonprofit entity to compete head-to-head with private insurance and create some market forces that bring down costs and give people a better deal. And all these reporters would say to me, why are you asking these Democrats in red states to walk the plank on this liberal issue?
Right.
And again, I just think back to the South Dakota moment. It's like, this is not out of touch. This is in touch. Like, if we want to get past some of the cultural divide issues in these red states, the way to do it is to lean hard into economics so that people rally to our side, right? So that just the conventional wisdom, the guidance telling them, the educating, telling them, don't do this, it's too liberal, is actually giving them very bad political advice, which then leads to us losing elections. So I think part of what we're trying to do at Bold Progressives is say, hey, basically run on Elizabeth Warren style populism if you want to win in red or purple areas, not just blue areas.
I've seen you on a few of the network shows, and I've seen how they've twisted that message several times, and they do it all of the time.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of progressives that go on to the national networks sometimes I think believe that these guys just don't understand. I think they understand just well. I just think that how do you talk about a public option if Aetna is one of your major advertisers? Please explain to me. I don't know. Maybe I don't know something. How do you accept what Adam Green is saying on network TV? And I'm not saying anything bad about these guys. We all have who we're due to. But how could they listen to your message and say, okay?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great point. It's why I say you're part of the solution, right?
And
the corporate media is fundamentally broken,
right?
And whether you're generous or non-generous in the motives you've ascribed to them, it is just a fact that there is not a corporate accountability lens in our media coverage. When bad things happen, the root causes, which often lie in corporate misbehavior, are never talked about. Right? Like the BP oil spill that happened back in the day. Like, where's the accountability? Where was the conversation about, it was this company skirting loose regulations and knowing that there wasn't a cop on the beat that allowed them to get to the point where we're polluting the planet, right? And I remember during that moment, I was thinking, like, I'm recycling. Like, how much recycling will I have to do in my lifetime to undo this corporate malfeasance? And that was really never a topic of conversation. It was just like, there's a crisis. We've a crisis. But it didn't really define the root cause of the crisis. Right?
And I always talk about what corporations do is they pollute, they do other things, and then they charge you to clean up the pollution in the long run. They charge you for the healthcare that you have to get for the pollution caused by the pollution. I mean, it's a vicious cycle that I think if we had media, I mean, we have spokespeople already. You make a hell of a spokesperson on all these issues.
Oh, thank you.
The problem, however, is that we don't have a media that spreads that message out. When I go out live, I go out through one channel that expands into 10 channels. One channel to 10. That is what the media is supposed to do to your voice and the active voice of every progressive in here. So my question to you takes it this direction. When are all our leaders in the progressive space, you and many others, are going to see a reason to really promote these types of independent media and let the big boys come to you on your terms?
I think that is a key question. And I think if things had gone different in the 2020 presidential primary, we would be in that environment now. I hope that President Biden is successful at the stuff that he's trying to do. But there is a culture question that comes with who we elect as president and eventually, Senate and Democratic leadership in the House and Senate. There is kind of a 1994 old school thinking right now in most of Democratic politics, in part because a lot of our leaders are so old. Nothing against them.
No, actually, you're absolutely right. Nancy Pelosi and her whole gang are in the 80s.
Like, why you said the big boys, why do the big corporate media get to ask all the questions at the White House press conferences?
Exactly.
Right? Weirdly, Trump had a bunch of right-wing media in the room asking questions, which allowed him to frame the message that was then put out through the corporate media. Right? I do think that if we get a progressive movement president, and again, unfortunately, there's a seniority system which often gets in the way of this in the House and Senate. I think if we have progressive leadership there, Nancy Pelosi does press conferences every week. Who is she calling on? Right? Who is she prioritizing?
Same people,
Who is she inviting into the room? Right? I think if you were asking questions, it would be a lot different than Peter Ducey.
I won't get into the room.
Right.
And that's a whole issue. At least the right wing bring in some of their news mags and the OAN folks into the room, but the small progressive networks that are asking the real questions, they don't get called on, or they are made to believe that, they are right-wing fringe. We are America. You take a look at Rick Smith and all these guys. We represent America. That's who America really is. Well, Adam, I always ask a very specific question that I want you to take as long or as short as you want it to be. What should I have asked you that I didn't?
Well, I gave you an obvious cue in the beginning.
Well, what's
when
the
I
cue?
said Adam Green is hilarious. You didn't follow up on that.
Well, you know what?
You didn't follow up on that,
well, you know
my
what?
friend.
Let me tell you
I have some things I want to get off my chest.
Okay, well, get it off your chest. Get it off your chest.
Here's something that I've been thinking more about, which is comedy and politics together.
Right.
And, for the last month of the 2020 election, we actually hired on contract 10 comedians, some that write for late night shows, to kind of be what we call a virtual writer's room.
Right.
Where we would throw them ideas, things in the news, and ask them, just think about this and let us know if there's anything kind of funny that would kind of cut through the depression and the noise that's out there.
I like that, actually.
It's I think it's needed now more than ever. There was an Axios piece 3 or 4 weeks ago that pretty much said that cable news viewership is at a record low.
Oh.
Now we can analyze why. I think there's a general distrust, but people are just depressed. They're tired. They're tuning out. They don't need an extra insertion of negative stuff in peppering their brains. And it even said people are looking for distractions.
Right.
Sports, video games, whatever. Well, my analogy, I don't know if you're a dog person.
I haven't had a dog,
you had
but
a
not
dog?
anymore.
Same. You're familiar with a pill pocket. How do you give a dog its medicine in a pill form? You make it look like a treat.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes,
really?
It's a little thing that goes around the pill and you give it to the dog and they're happy to eat it. Well, similarly, we've actually taken a few stabs now at comedy videos with some real A-list heavy hitter celebrities. One around Biden-Harris, get out the vote, urging people to vote early in person when the post office was under attack. The second was around the Georgia Senate elections. Basically, celebrities doing a lot of breaking news hits, talking about the corruption of the Republican Senate candidates, which was kind of the key to winning those elections. And then a third one with David Cross from Arrested Development, one-man show, basically around the billionaire's tax when that was kind of hot in the news around Build Back Better.
I like the concept.
Yeah, and it basically was like, you watch this 4 or 5 minute video of him, you learn a lot about tax loopholes, but it's punchline.
And not only that, it's something that you want to keep watching. It's not like, there it goes depressing again.
It brings a smile to my face, helping to make it, and it brings a smile to people's face. So we're thinking about, and we're actually on the cusp of this coming week, actually filming our first comedy ad. It will also feature David Cross. It will be around It'll be around Secretary of State races. I will just preview the first line on your show.
Let me hear it.
It will be an interview where someone asks a Republican Secretary of State candidate, why are you running for office? And they will say something to the effect of, Secretary of State counts the votes. And when Donald Trump first asked me to run for Secretary of State, my reaction was, pardon me? No, literally. When he said he would pardon me, after going to the insurrection, I'm there. I'm running, right? And the thing is that all these Secretary of State candidates actually were at the insurrection or insurrection adjacent.
So they need a pardon.
They need a pardon, right? So we're basically, it's like, but it will be threaded with little jokes, but they emphasize we have these criminal misfits who tried to overthrow the election running to count the votes. That's the core irony point. If people know one thing about Secretary of State, that's the point they need to know. And we want to get it across through comedy. So,
and you said you're funded for 10 of them?
Say it again?
Did you say you were funded for 10 of them?
I definitely did not say that. So go to boldprogressives.org and chip in if you want to help on these things.
You heard him. He's asking for funding for these comedy skits, man.
It's
Give
really
the man
important.
the funding.
Yeah.
Hey, let me tell you, when you start putting these things out, make sure politicsdoneright.com and some of these independent guys are up there, and come back on and let us know
let's
what's
get on here on day
going
one.
on and start putting all this stuff out.
I will just say, we broke some news here. This has not been public until this moment. So
you see? PDR
comedy,
broke news, guys.
That's right. That's the way it should be done.
That's the
right. It's a little teaser.
You got it, brother.
That's right.
You got it. You got it. That's the way it's done.
That's
but
right.
anyhow, folks, Adam Green, Bold Progressives. Check out boldprogressives.org. Boldprogressives.org. Remember, all these independent progressive organizations, including Politics Done Right, they do need your support. If you're going to change America, it starts with guys like Adam Green and many others.
And folks like this.
Let's get this done. Politics Done Right, out.
I hope you enjoyed that. But let me tell you what is distressing sometimes. But I recover immediately when I have good people like Mike Cisak, good people like Daniel Ledo, and all these guys. They honestly believe what they are saying, my brothers and sisters. They do, because there's an institution that works on a particular psychological part of their brains that is susceptible to these particular forms of lies. Let's give an example, all right? Republicans voted against the the maximum $30 a month insulin that would have given millions of Americans a deal on insulin, something that we've developed long time ago. Okay, long time ago. But no, the drug companies continue to get the bribe of us paying more for insulin than we need to. Your tax dollars, of course, most of the times in Medicare. They also voted against everything having to do with giving Americans health care after they've served the country in Iraq in those burned pits. But they somehow are better for Americans. They prevent us from creating tax breaks for the farmers who are hurt when the big ag corporations, who are supported by both Republicans and neoliberal Democrats. So we have all these entities that are screwing Americans, Republicans and neoliberal Democrats. And then we have the Mike Cisaks of the world saying, you lefties, the lefties who want to give you good health care, the lefties who want to make sure that you can be on your farm and be self-sufficient, the lefties who want to do all these things, while the Republicans and neoliberal Democrats lie to you. It is just like the slave in the big house overhears that the leading slave is creating a revolution to end slavery, and he goes and he says, Massa, John is gonna he's trying to get rid of you. And you stop those who would actually help you. Please listen to my programs and go to the links that we provide, to the information that we give, to unchain your minds. I am not doing this because I'm some lefty who just wants to hurt you. The people that are hurting you are two groups. Your Republicans who care nothing about you, only about the wealthy. And neoliberal Democrats who are nothing more than Republicans in the Democratic Party to ensure that the lefties don't get to serve you the way we should. That's all. And let me go back to Alistair Waters. I'm going to stay over by another minute. Alistair Waters gave us this stuff about, and folks don't understand the numbers. Yes, the taxes in California are higher than the taxes in Texas. But what this chart shows for anybody who knows how to read charts, which if we continue to give basic math and educate our citizens appropriately, we would understand. This says that Texas, the reason the rich people leave California to come to Texas is they make their monies in California and come to Texas because guess what? We Texans take care of the millionaires as we screw the poor, as we screw everybody else. That is what that chart tells you. But it's so hard. It is so hard for so many to understand that you're being screwed by those people who are smiling at you as they screw you. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out! We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.